einfach. Okay. Das muss man irgendwie hier einfach unter die Haare machen. Genau. So über die brauchst du auch nicht liegen, nix. Das hängt hier vorne einfach.
Okay. Yeah. I was also at a party yesterday, the company summer party. So I had to cut it short, so I get my flight this morning. For me, I'm a product owner. That's why I came up with this topic. And I'm working in an Agile team, and there's like some bumps and bruises we got, and I want to share what I learned and have it really interactive. So if you have some questions, please just raise your hand or interrupt me. If you have some experience that you want to share with the audience, I really want to make this like a learning space for you. So as a real good product owner, what you first do is kind of find out about your target audience, and you are my target right now. So I have to get to know you a little bit better, and I prepared some questions. So for me, it's really important, who of you works in a team? So not alone as a freelancer, but in a team. Okay, nearly everyone. That's good. Who works for a client? So the product that you're working on is not for your own company, but it's for an agency and another client. Oh, wow. Okay. So I guess the ones that work in a company are rather the minority. Anybody work in a company? Okay, yeah, me too. So then who uses agile methods at work? So Scrum, Kanban, extreme programming, whatever. Okay, yeah. And do you work with a PO, with a product owner? Anybody? Okay. All right. And who is a PO themselves? Maybe there's a... Okay, so... and who of you, just out of curiosity, has talked at other conferences before? Talked at conferences? Okay. Yes. Okay, so good to know. Yeah. The first thing that I get asked when I say that I'm a product owner, when I'm talking about my job, is that people want to know, okay, so what is a product owner, and what's the difference between product owner and product manager, and what's a project manager got to do with it all? So the definition that I'm working with, and we can discuss it later, but product owner is working operational on a day-to-day basis with the dev team together. And yeah, the product manager is more strategic, more business-oriented, and more high-level. That's kind of the definition that you could... I know that there are companies, they have it vice versa, or they have their own complete definition, but that's like what you can mostly observe. Product managers are more on high-level business, strategic side, and product owners are on the day-to-day operational with the devs together. What's a project manager? Well, projects really don't exist in Agile. They actually exist in a waterfall movement. So they're from the past area. And it's when you don't have any self-organizing teams, which you think you have in Agile, then you need a project manager that kind of tracks the progress and so on. But in Agile, we think like people need to do it on their own. All right, so we cleared kind of the vocabulary. Is there any other questions you have towards that? What a product owner is, project manager? All right, so I'll continue. I want to take you on a journey. So you're in a dev team. Maybe there's 4 others. You have a Scrum Master. I think a Scrum Master is not optional. You absolutely need that person. And you have a PO. So we have 2 POs actually, and I want to paint a kind of black and white, or in this case, blue and green picture. So this first PO, let's call her, I don't know, Laura. Is Laura fine? Then we call her Laura. And then the second PO, Susan. So what Laura does is she kind of knows that the stakeholders, they are close to the consumers, they're close to the users. So she's very busy and she lets the stakeholder do the prioritization. So we can see that the product improves, but somehow it doesn't really have clear direction. That's what Laura does as in her PO role. On the contrary, Susan, she knows that the stakeholders are really important, and she wants to get to know the perspective, but in the end, she kind of has to bring them all together and has to have the final say. So she's kind of merging all the stakeholders together. She has a clear vision for her product, so she knows where she wants to go. It's not just, okay, let's do a little bit here and a little bit there, but she really knows where she's going, and she can always answer the why. So basically, that's like what a product owner has to do, especially towards the dev team, answer why are we doing this right now and not something else, why it's so important. And she can be held accountable. So that's one thing they do kind of differently. And maybe you can already kind of feel with which kind of product owner you want to work with. The Laura, she doesn't really track her product. So there's basic monitoring, but she doesn't know her numbers really. She doesn't observe real users. She doesn't talk to them. And when she has ideas for new features, it's basically her gut feeling or some guesswork, or she's trying to do the same thing the competition does. So yeah, that's Laura. And then on the other hand, we have Susan, and she's constantly in touch with the users. So she's listening in on calls with the service center. She's reading user feedback on the website or chat logs or something. She conducts user research. So she really goes out there and kind of looks who's using her product in what way. And that way, she's representing the user's voice in the dev team, within the company as well, but also in the team. Because you don't have the users in the company, you have them outside, and as a PO, you bring them inside. And that way, she can kind of make or have innovative ideas, because she's observing the users and comes up with new solutions to that. And then we have Laura again. When something fails, Laura blames the stakeholders or the devs, because she says, well, yeah, either you said the requirements are wrong or the implementation was really crappy. So she kind of then tries to solve the problems on her own. And, well, I don't know, it's not really that effective. On the other hand, if you have Susan, she tracks the economic performance, and she feels responsible for the business impact. So you have to know your numbers, you have to know what brings what in, if you implement that feature, how does it drive conversion, and she proactively engages with other teams to solve problems. So if you know that there's something wrong with your product, then you directly go to the other teams, incident management, for example, and you proactively communicate and to solve the crisis. So then again, we have Laura. She kind of feels like a lone fighter now, because she has this heavy burden on her shoulders. It says in the literature sometimes that the product owner is a single wringable neck. So if something goes wrong, then you kind of the product owner, and so you kind of feel this really heavy burden that you have so much responsibility, and then if something goes wrong, then you start not trusting your dev team anymore, and you start to control their progress, to control the results, you start to micromanage, and then what happens? Well, the devs usually see you as the enemy and not part of your team anymore, and well, then you can also, as a PO, if you get so much pressure from the management because your product is not performing, then you start handing the pressure down. So, well, somebody's yelling at you, you're yelling at your team. Perfect. And then she also makes promises to the stakeholder without the commitment from the team or with fixed deadlines. So you're always in a rush and have to hurry and cannot really focus on building a really nice software product. Whereas Susan, she kind of knows that she has to protect the team because devs, they need to work in not silence, but at least for some time uninterrupted, and lets them focus on the how. So product owner does the why, the team does the how, and if there's pressure, she has to buffer it because she knows, well, good things takes time. I just have to give them the time and good things will come out, and I know that they have expertise. So she trusts the expertise. And she also needs the dev team as an echo chamber. So if there is a lot of feature requests coming in to the PO and you cannot really technically say, yeah, okay, it's really easy or it's not that easy or it's completely hard or impossible, then you need the dev team as an echo chamber. So you kind of shout it in there and they give you instant feedback, or you find some format like an idea workshop or something where you every week or every other week kind of bring all these ideas in, then you discuss it, and then you can give feedback to the company, okay, maybe this mission is possible and the other not. And then also Susan accepts that she doesn't know everything, especially the technical part. So you're the PO in this role is kind of stuck in between communicating and having empathy for the users, and on the other hand, having technical understanding to some part, but not completely. And it takes some stability for a person to admit on both sides that you don't know everything and you have to get the information and ask. And Susan also makes her own agenda transparent and what she has on her plate, and incorporates the team. So for example, if Susan is totally overwhelmed with some long-term project that she has to work out and figure out whether it's actually going to promise some turnover for the company, and she cannot really focus on writing tickets, so many tickets right now, then she can make it transparent to her team. Hey, come on, I cannot write the tickets, please do it yourself. I can come in the refinement, answer all the why questions, but doing the typing, that's your job. So that's totally fine. You just have to make it transparent and communicate about it. And well, then Laura, for example, again, on the other hand, she says, well, I need some distance because I have so much work to do. I have to bury myself. And she doesn't sit with a team. She's somewhere else, and she's only available to the dev team when there's some meetings. So after the meetings or in between, she's not available. On the other hand, Susan, she's in the same room at the same table, which is completely vital for the communication, for also if there's some chatter in between and you kind of jump in and say, hey, but from PO perspective, maybe we should focus on that if it's, I don't know, some new idea that's coming up in the dev team. And she also reacts fast on the callback from the team. So what's really important, not to waste the development time. So if a PO has to answer the why questions, or also how she thinks it should be implemented, at least the mock-ups or something, and the team has to wait for 2 days and has idle time in between, it's really like a bad sign of a PO. And so she reacts fast on the callbacks because the dev team has to be busy, and then she can focus on the other stuff. Right, that was kind of, as you already realized, I think that's the bad PO, that's the good PO. I try to make it clear. When you kind of summarize it, the killers for a PO is not communicating, not making it transparent, not being able to answer the why, and all the other things that not doing what Susan does, basically. So you provide direction, you set priorities, you make your team feel safe, and your motivation is basically to bring value to the user. the team, the dev team, can also destroy a product owner. So it's not just the product owner's fault, him or herself, but it can be that the team, for example, doesn't focus on the really most important thing at that time, but doing some other stuff, maybe even working without tickets, or that they're not self-organizing, and kind of everybody's working on their own ticket for the whole sprint, and in the end, whoops, nothing is ready. And also when you want to not kill your PO, but want him to or her to stay alive, then you build task forces, you collaborate, maybe also with other teams. And I had some really good one here. The feedback one. Yeah. So, for example, if you want to destroy your team, then you only give feedback in the retrospective. But if you're a really stable, self-organizing team, then you give feedback instantly, even on the small things. After a meeting, how it went, on the ticket quality, whatever. You give feedback all the time because you know only through improvement and learning, you're going to get better. So that's actually, if you want to survive, then PO and team kind of have to build this symbiosis and communicate together. Yeah, that's basically what I wanted to say. And now I would be really willing to answer all your questions and discuss what your experiences are in your teams with the PO or without a PO. So what are your experiences? I don't know. Have you worked in sprints before? Do you work with one PO only for your team, or is there a PO that has several teams? Is there a Scrum Master in your team? How does it work? Since when do you work with Agile? Like for 2 months or 2 years? Come on, talk to me. Is there some question that you were having or hoping before the talk that now are unanswered? So we're expecting something different from my talk. Working in Agile teams, maybe, that you want to collaborate on that. Yes, please.
We work. This works. Okay. We work with 3 POs and the PO of the POs.
Okay.
To get a better overall point of view. The biggest problem for us was that the POs doesn't connect, and the product goes out. And for us, it's good to have a PO of the POs. You have some experience with PO of POs?
We are 8 POs at RatePay where I work, and they were 3 last year, and we have grown quite considerably. And then we started some weekly meetings called PO Exchange, where we kind of exchange ideas on the operational. So what are we working on right now? So everybody is kind of on track. What is going on in the company right now, on the whole dev side at least. And we're also exchanging ideas on how to better, working together with the teams, working together with the Scrum Master, some methods to moderate the plannings, for example, or the refinements. There's some POs that are really junior, and they don't know how to do the planning well. For example, if they still have a stake in it because they have a lot of knowledge, that's usually a problem when the PO also has some really technical knowledge. And then they try to go in there, but usually the PO has to stay out and the dev team is discussing that. So for example, we usually do the planning 1 and the planning 2, and in planning 1 the PO is there, and in planning 2 he's out of the room. It's only just the dev team discussing what the subtasks are and how they're going to implement it. And so we're doing weekly basis discussing of operational and strategic and anything in between, exchanging ideas how to improve the PO work. And then we really have a great Agile coach in our company that is always there, kind of going into the meetings from time to time, looking how the working is together, and you get nice qualitative feedback from him. And so you can improve there. Anybody who's working with Agile, you need a Scrum Master and an Agile coach. It's going to change your life. Yes.
I assume you have your daily stand-up with your dev
Yes.
team. And what kind of meeting do you have with your dev team? Do you have something like deeply project specifications on a daily basis or something like this?
Well, I sit with my team, so I know what they're working on. If there's an incident coming in, then directly they tell me, oh, we have to stop everything. There's this incident. It's about this and that, and what shall we do? And do you want to like be copied on everything? So I kind of, for example, I have to do the communication with some external teams so that the dev can do the problem analysis and I can maybe prepare the solution already. So kind of, yeah, exactly. Well, we have the daily, normal. Then we have the refinement at least once in the sprint, but we have kind of come to the conclusion that having this fixed refinement for 4 hours, we're brain dead after that. So we tried to split it in 2 hours, but even 2 hours, really concentrating on things is hard. Because sometimes for the tickets, then there's some questions, I have to answer them. I have to go to other teams and do the research, how things are going. Because we're a fintech product, there's also a huge legal side always to everything that I do, which is like, oh my God, now I have to go to legal again. And then I come with the feedback to the next refinement. But sometimes we have agreed that we just do a quick refinement in between. So if there's something really, really important coming in, then I just meet together with some developers, 2 minimum, and then we kind of explain the ticket, what is it, and they estimate it together, and then it goes into the sprint sooner. So that's kind of what I do. And the idea workshop, as I already mentioned, also every other week, where we come in with really rough ideas that are not even tickets yet, that we just have some are coming around. And for that process to start, we have a parking lot on our board. So we put a parking lot on there, and all the ideas that we have in between of the sprint, in between of the day, we just put there with Post-it, and on the next daily, we just discuss them roughly, what we don't want to do with them. Do a meeting in the idea workshop, in the refinement, a ticket or something else. Yeah. So, and I'm sitting with them. If they ask questions, they don't have to meet with me. They just come up and ask questions.
One last question.
Yeah.
How long takes your sprint?
My sprint right now with the team is 2 weeks. Yeah, welcome.
What exactly is a refinement? What do you define from what to what?
Okay, yeah. So I hate the word grooming. That's why I say refinement. So maybe people know the word grooming. So it's product backlog refinement. I take the most important tickets from the backlog and I discuss them with the dev team. So they haven't heard of the ticket before, usually because I create them and I have talked to the stakeholders before. I know all the context. And I say, okay, look here, that's the thing. They need that and that. Or, for example, we are sending out emails with invoices and stuff, and they have to be correct with the right data and the date and whatever. And then I tell them, okay, right, they need a new field which displays a status or something. And then I explain the idea and they ask questions back and so on. And then either we are so Angular and HTML, CSS, whatever, all this kind of things. And for the mailing tool, we also have Java, I think. And then we use Kafka in very strange, because it's real time and then not real time on the other hand. So, yeah.
Yeah, because what I just want to ask you a bit is what's your team structure? Like you have 2 front-end developers, 2 back-end developers, or do you have everything mixed in, like a full stack developers? Or
okay. So before, 2 weeks ago, there wasn't any front-end developer in our whole company, because we basically have all the back-end processes and things, so we didn't need anybody. And some parts for the portals were done by agencies. And now we decided, no, we want to have them in-house to have a more smooth experience and UX design and so on. And therefore now we have 1 front-end developer and we're looking for a UX designer. And there's supposed to be another front-end developer. But basically the teams, right now, I have 1 front-end, 5 Java, and then there used to be a QA. We're looking for the QA right now. And then I have another team with just 2 Javas that is doing the mailing tool. So we're going towards the interdisciplinary team, but right now we're hiring, so it takes a bit of time.
And so you don't have any DevOps or guys inside, or do you have another team?
Yeah, there's a completely different. There's a completely different DevOps team that is serving all the development teams, all the Scrum teams. but we're working on also dissolving them. So as soon as we have enough DevOps people for each team, then they will set in each team. And the same will go with the reporting. So we have like the reporting people that are in the data vault, and then we're gonna have analysts in each team as well, so we can all do the reporting ourselves. This is kind of the strategy for this year.
Yeah, sounds cool.
You said that a team really should have a Scrum Master. Do you have examples of bad things that happen without a Scrum Master, or good things that only happen with a Scrum Master?
In my experience, the number one thing is that in development teams, it's always about technical things and hardly ever about personal things. So I've had contact with colleagues that were completely sure of the opinion that they could work with people if they would have, like on a collegial level, even though if they would have personal conflicts with them. In my complete, I'm convinced that you cannot work with somebody that you have problems with. You're not going to work as good as if it's like going smoothly. So you have to work on that interpersonal stuff. And the Scrum Master should have an eye on that. So it's looking for, okay, so there were two people having a little bit of rough off in the refinement. Let's talk about it. What was it about? Is there really some just ego behind it? Or is there technical knowledge that somebody's frustrated? We do a shitty workaround instead of the real thing. So the PO doesn't have the time. I can tell you because I had this double role of Scrum Master and PO for 3 months. And it was not good because you cannot really do either of the roles good. So you would need 48 hours in one day and you don't have it. And have this extra perspective with the Scrum Master, it's really vital. Sometimes you have to have somebody else also for the PO as a kind of mirror. How are you behaving towards your devs? Come on, don't start to micromanage them. Trust them with their expertise. Leave them alone. And it's kind of this correction that you need. If you're only PO and dev team, you can get on your nerves quite easily and not find the way out of this downward spiral. So I think it's, you cannot be a really good agile Scrum team without a Scrum Master. Anybody else? All right. Then, if there's any question, feel free to contact me. You will find me in the web. Thank you so much.